point for the Orioles rotation.
Yeah, well, he's going to be their number 3 starter. And the reason why is, and clearly I'm talking about Chris Tillman and Kevin Gausman ahead of him, and I'm not going to try to portray this as an exciting acquisition, but as you and I have talked about for weeks, I don't know what Orioles fans were expecting. I mean, there just isn't anything in the system right now that's going to get you a Chris Sale other than going out and dealing guys that are currently on your major league roster, and thus, kind of cutting yourself off at the legs to try to improve. So, with Wade Miley, it's not exciting. He has a 4.98 ERA. He has an ERA of right around 4.5 over the last 3 years. But one, that's improvement over what they've been getting from the back end of their rotation. And two, and I think this is definitely worth noting, from 2012 through 2015, this is a guy who's averaged right around 198 innings per year.
Yeah, so he works. He takes the ball, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's one thing to talk about the run prevention part of this. The ERA is below average. I'm not going to try to argue about that with anyone. It's underwhelming.
That's why he was available for sort of an
Ariel
afterthought.
Miranda, right.
Exactly.
Who exactly? A 27-year-old Cuban pitcher who had okay numbers at AAA, but for a 27-year-old, if you're a real prospect, you better be carving guys up at AAA, and just had an all right kind of production. So the Orioles clearly didn't think enough of him to give him a real shot in the rotation, so they send him to Seattle. And Miley's going to, if anything, he should give them some innings. And when you're talking about a bullpen that entered Sunday having thrown the second most relief innings in the American League, Wade Miley getting through 6 innings, and even if he's given up 3 or 4 runs over 6 or 7 innings, that still gives the Orioles, assuming their offense wakes up in August, and I think we all anticipate that happening to some degree. It can't be much worse than it was in July. That gives them a chance to win, assuming they have an offense that wakes up to where it was for the most of this season, and assuming the bullpen continues to be lights out. But Wade Miley can help them out in terms of eating some innings and giving them a reasonable chance to win. And like I said, the standard has been so low. This is a guy who's going to be their number 3 starter because, as impressive, as encouraging, as exciting as Dylan Bundy has been, we assume there's going to be some kind of limiting of his innings over the final 2 months, whether it's shorter starts, whether it's skipping him some turns in the rotation, whatever it might be. We assume he's not just going to be let go and throw 90, 95 pitches every time out until September or October, hopefully. And then, you have Yovani Gallardo, who I think they're going to continue to send out there for the time being. It allows them to use Vance Worley in a long relief role, which is what he's best suited for, but it also puts Worley in position to either take Bundy's place or, if Gallardo continues trending in a bad direction like what we saw on Saturday, it gives you another option there. So this isn't a great move. This isn't a move that's going to have anyone doing cartwheels down Utah Street in terms of how it relates to the Orioles. But I've said this to you so many times, I'll continue to say it again. If the Orioles can get middle of the pack kind of starting pitching, mediocre starting pitching, they've been worse than mediocre this year. If they can get mediocrity the rest of the way, that might be enough with their offense and with their bullpen. So can Wade Miley help them with some minimal improvement, with some modest improvement? I think he can. Last year, his first year in the American League, pitching for the Boston Red Sox, he had an ERA of 4.46. It's not great, but that's.
Well, this is how you wind up on your 4th team in 4 seasons, right? I mean, to some degree. But, Dylan Bundy's made 3 starts. This guy's made 153 starts. I'll take my chances with him, right?
Yeah, and, he doesn't strike a lot of people out, but doesn't walk many people. In fact, his walk rate in 2016 is better than any current member of this Orioles rotation other than Kevin Gausman. So, he doesn't walk many, doesn't strike out many. The home run ball has been a problem for him this year. Hadn't been a dramatic problem earlier in his career, but we've seen home runs are up around baseball in 2016, whether it's a juiced ball, whatever your theory might be, that home runs have been up, and he's been guilty of that. But, this is a guy who has a career 4.07 ERA. He has a career 3.91 fielding independent pitching mark, which is FIP, I'm introducing that one into
Bring
the
it
discussion.
on. Bring it on, Bill James. Come on.
That indicates, this is a guy who could benefit from having a better infield defense behind him, like the Orioles do. So, again, I'm not trying to say this is a great move. I'm not saying this is the move that's going to be what puts them over the top to win a World Series by any stretch.
Well, I like it because they're trying, right? I like it because they did something, and I know some people say, well...
they didn't give up much to do it, by the way. It'd be one thing, if they had given up Chance Sisco to get Wade Miley, I'd be taking a different tone here because not that I think Chance Sisco is going to be, the next, all-star catcher in baseball, but I think he's a guy who has a chance to help them here in the not-too-distant future. Whereas Ariel Miranda, a 27-year-old AAA pitcher, it kind of is what it is. They thought so highly of him that they'd given him all but one cup of coffee in the major leagues, pitching out of the bullpen in July. So, it's just, considering they didn't give up a whole lot, and we know they didn't have a whole lot to give up, I think this was okay. It's not exciting, but I think it's a fine trade. Meh, okay, decent, whatever you want to call it. Kind of throw it in that category, which, hey, okay and decent is still improvement over what the Orioles have gotten from several members of that rotation over the course of this season.
I'll let you know in 90 days how it's worked out, but really this is also a part of the rotation for next year. We want to point that out, too.
Yeah, I'm glad you did point that out. I mean, the numbers, again, this isn't a guy that is great, but when you look at baseball, and we talk about this all the time, there's not a whole lot of great starting pitching out there. I mean, every team would love to have a rotation like the Cleveland Indians, where you have 4 or 5 guys with ERAs well below 4, and you're just cruising right along. That's what you want in a perfect world. But in most rotations, Wade Miley's probably around a number 4 starter, and he's under contract through 2017, a team option for 2018, and he's set to make $8.9 million in 2017, which is less than Giovanni Gallardo or Ubaldo Jimenez is making. So in that regard, I guess this deal was better than those two signings. And hey, the Orioles didn't even give up a first-round pick to do it. So again, this deal's fine. I think it could help them. Some very modest improvement, and if you didn't give up a lot to do that, then I think it's worth it.
Luke Jones can be reached, Luke at WNST.net. We will be monitoring all things Wade Miley as well as the trading deadline across Major League Baseball to see who's picking up whom. The Orioles have, at least for now, improved themselves, if mildly. Time will tell. So you can find me, Nasty, at WNST.net, anywhere the internet is served, including the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day. Of course, we'll be monitoring the Rangers and the Orioles all week long, as well as anything happening on the backfields up in Owings Mills on the WNST Tech Service. That is powered up by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Taos in Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports. Good stuff, man. We got 10 minutes added on to it, and it's already put together, so I'm just going to recompress it and go forward.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at he at least gives them in.